10 years about, I've been trying to understand why some ideas spread and take off and light the world on fire, and other things that seem like a good idea, people see them and they don't really share them or pass them along, and they kind of fizzle. Why is it that certain things just spread through networks really rapidly and have huge impact, and other things don't? And so I started by doing a few little viral media experiments where I tell a few friends and watch something spread to millions of people, and then I co-founded the Huffington Post with Ariana. Giant on its own, you can make something that is true to your message, has the brand you want, but is also shareable and also has social hooks in it. It also gives you that extra boost on your ROI because people are evangelizing and sharing.
Well, and that's just one example of, I mean, I think sort of helping on the ground level, and I thought it'd be interesting to hear from Jonah about how sort of getting a message out there, finding the right audience, sort of spreading content, how that's become easier through this, through the last few years.
Sure. So in the 1970s, this guy Stanley Milgram, famous social psychologist, did this experiment with chain letters that led to what he called 6 degrees of separation, which is now a commonplace term. And the paper was a super cool paper. Reading the original paper is totally worth it. But it was more of an intellectual curiosity at the time. So everyone's connected, and in theory, if I tell someone something and they tell their friends and they tell their friends, a message can spread. But it was more of an intellectual idea, and it wasn't really in practice. And now what we have with the rise of the internet is you have hundreds of millions, billions actually, of office workers and people on cell phones, people connected to the internet. And so 6 degrees of separation now really matters. Things actually do spread through 6 degrees of separation to millions of people. Sometimes it's a cute cat picture, and sometimes it's a funny, kid dancing and or some silly thing. But every day things spread to millions of people through these networks. And so I like to call these hundreds of millions of bored office workers who sit with high-speed internet connections, spending kind of half their day on Twitter and Facebook, and I like to call them the Bored at Work network. And so, the Bored at Work network now is bigger than any other media network. It's bigger than NBC or BBC or anything. It reaches more people. It can spread media further. And so once you start to think about, well, what does the Bored at Work network want? What will they share? What will they pass along? You have a massive opportunity to make your message spread in a very cost-effective way to a really large audience, if you can make something that the Bored at Work network wants to share. And that is the thing that we're figuring out right now, is how do you package your media and your ideas and your products in a way that when people see it, they're like, oh, cool, I'm going to share this with my friends.
Is it possible, though, to sort of promote the spread of things that are a little bit more substantive than, cats and sort of jokes and LOLs? Like what kinds of things have you seen that help more meaningful, information get out there?
I mean, I think that any hit product that you ever see has benefited from huge amounts of word of mouth, and a lot of that now is driven on the internet. Whatever movie is the #1 in the box office, whatever new smartphone or computer or consumer product that takes off. And even with in the B2B space, you'll see that like if you think about the way something like Facebook started at Harvard University, it wasn't a mass thing for general consumers. It was for people who worked who were at school at Harvard. But it was so awesome that any Harvard student who saw it wanted their friends to sign up for it. And they so even in a really narrow specific within an organization, you see that things that spread and things that when people see them, that they think in a social way, are what is responsible for something becoming big and taking market share and